Hi, my name is Trevor Johnson. I work at Tik Tok. Before I go on to explain, I just want to talk about my tech setup because I've got my the presentation here and notes here. So there's you may see my eyes darting around a bit, and I just want to make sure people realise that I'm not checking my messages. I promise I'm fully focused on delivering this. Firstly, I want to thank you very much for logging in and listening to me today. This here is probably a reason why when you have duets on TikTok, you should probably show both sides, because this is only showing one side, and actually on the other side should actually be Mariah Carey. So what I'd say, if you want the full experience of this, then go onto my profile on TikTok, UK Trevor, and you'll be able to see that it's not just me doing whatever it is I'm doing there. Thank you for logging in today and listening to me. There's certainly a lot of things that we could talk about, so many issues that we could cover. I'm excited to hear your questions at the end, so please send them in and drop them into the chat box. And before I get into the meat of the discussion, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about who I am and my time in the technology industry. So I've been at TikTok for about 9 months. I lead the GBS, which is our sales organization, marketing team. So that consists of our creative lab, brand strategy, B2B comms, marketing, industry relations, events, and our creator solutions team across Europe. And when we talk about technology industry, obviously technology needs to be funded, and so I work on the monetization side of things here. Before that, I spent 12 years at Facebook and then later Instagram, started in 2008 when we had 300 people globally at Facebook, and then I left about 10 months ago where there was 50,000 people. So I saw some really amazing growth there and had a really good time there, and I just traveled the world, and I lived in New York for 4 years, had a few jobs there. One of the advice I would give is that if you work for a company, move jobs or move companies is a really good way to progress and to get great experience. So that's a very quick synopsis of my background, particularly working for two big tech companies. But that's enough about me. Today, I want to talk to you about the power of stories. So from Rocky Balboa to Black Panther to the millions being told on TikTok, I want to tell you about the magic of storytelling and how positive stories can shape people's views of themselves and the world around them, as well as their ability to change and influence that world. The first story I'd want to tell you is about my life growing up, my own origin story, and how it's affected my view of the world today. I'll then talk to you about the stories we see, how they affect us, and how we can use the power of storytelling to celebrate the Black community and drive positive change. So this movie came out a few years back, RIP. For some, it was at the time, and still is, a strange thing to see such excitement over a film by the Black community within the Black community. And a small minority were actually taking offense to it. I want to explain why I believe that Black Panther was important to the Black community and give examples of what happens when you grow up never seeing any superheroes that look like you. I grew up in a very white middle-class area called Pinner. I went to a school and I was one of the only, if not the only, Black person within that school. And I had a really great time there. But in the playground with all my friends, all white friends, we used to play Rocky. We used to play Rocky all the time. We were obsessed with that film for years. I always had to play Mr. T, Clubber Lang, again here, or I had to play Apollo Creed. What that meant was that I was never able to win, ever. The only way that I was able to win was to be Rocky. But I was never allowed to play Rocky because Rocky wasn't Black. This seems like such a small thing, but it's a huge thing for a kid. So imagine playing a game that you were never allowed to win. And that was probably the first time, I've been very lucky, but the first time I was conscious of my color and the role that plays in how people perceive me and the opportunities given to me. The hope is that Black Panther creates a superhero that Black kids can role play in the kids and in the playgrounds and allow them to win. I don't need to tell you that 2020 has been a momentous and difficult year for the Black community. And although we've seen positive change and people standing up for what's right and putting out injustices, we've been confronted with a lot of negative headlines, negative images, and negative emotions. Now, I'm not saying that these negative emotions aren't justified. I mean, how could they be? George Floyd, protests against the BLL movement, the current discourse in the US presidential race. These are some very heavy losses to bear. And closer to home, the stories haven't always been positive. Stop and search, Colson must fall, the knife crime in the capital. It's tough to escape when these issues are clogging up our timelines. And negativity breeds negativity. The recent changes to the Sky Soccer Saturday lineup is a really great example. So for some time, Sky has been making cuts to staff members across its channel, and the 3 Soccer Saturday pundits here were next in line to get sacked. It was a straightforward story about business looking to change and update. But a quick look at some of the comments online, and you'll find plenty of amateur pundits who are jumping on the anti-diversity bandwagon and talking nonsense, quite frankly. I'm going to read out some quotes that are just from one comment section on a tabloid newspaper article. I can't stand Alex Scott. Don't mind the others, but it's clearly a diversity move and nothing more. How are Sky Sports allowed to get away with sacking people based on their gender and race? This is what everyone has been campaigning to stop. Something has to be done about this. And finally, my guess, the replacement will be BAME and a woman. When I originally told you the story, I didn't mention that these 3 presenters happen to be older white gentlemen. I didn't mention it because it doesn't really matter. It's not relevant. The color of their skin is not why their contracts were terminated. Yet a story that had nothing to do with race suddenly has everything to do with it. These are narratives that we see and hear every day and end up taking hold in our minds and in the media. They drive fear and they drive distrust. They lead to the kind of comments and beliefs that I shared with you. That's why stories we hear matter so much. They matter because they influence how we see ourselves, how we see the world around us, and how motivated we feel to change. The more negative they are, the more they bring us down. The more they can divide us, and the more they make it seem that there's nothing that we can do. So the question is, how do we overcome this? And the answer is stories. We need to transform the narrative. We need to flip the script. We need an optimistic message. Just as Rocky moved to Black Panther, we need positive stories to tell, and we need positive headlines to read, and we need positive heroes to look up to. And the good news is there are plenty of positive stories to tell. This year has been a difficult year for the Black community, but out of adversity, a new dawn can rise. New heroes are emerging. The first is Marcus Rashford, who last week was honoured with an MBE for his campaign to end child poverty in the UK. He's just 22 years old, and he's using his platform and his status and his voice to stand up for those in need. We have the model, Adwa, who's pictured here on the Vogue magazine alongside Rashford. Aboa is a mental health campaigner, used creativity and art to tackle anxiety and loneliness during the lockdown. And she's an incredible person. I've met her a few times, and she's amazing. And next year, Zoe Kravitz, who will play the role of Catwoman in the upcoming Batman movie. And just as Chadwick Boseman, RIP, gave us Black hero to look up to in Black Panther, I'm sure Kravitz will do the same for girls. Society, I think, is changing a bit for the better too. Recent polling on positive attitudes in the UK show that with each passing year, people in Britain are becoming more open-minded to their attitudes about race, as well as more concerned about racial inequalities and structural racism. Despite all the polarization in politics, we have the most ethnically diverse parliament ever. And over this last month, we've seen the most traditional, publicly traded corporations in the world commit to more ambitious diversity targets. And in the world of tech, we've seen venture capitalist firms promise to make hire and send the wire. That is to diversify their staff and increase startup funding for their Black innovators, all of which give more Black professionals the chance to build the next big thing or land their dream role. I'm hopeful that these positive stories more than just stories, that there are real commitments that will drive journey and opportunities for people in this tech festival. Let me tell you about what we're doing at TikTok too. First of all, I'm really proud of the team of incredible Black professionals that we have as part of our team. We call it BLARK at TikTok. And they've done some really amazing things. At the start of this month, my Black colleagues across TikTok pulled together Black History, Black Present, and Black Future, which is a grassroots campaign for Black History Month, which is built to champion the Black community. At the start of this month, my Black colleagues across, there was from live streams and beauty and fashion. There have been some panel events on music and gaming. There's been hashtag challenges. I've been really excited, incredibly excited and impressed to bring celebratory content to over 100 million users across Europe. Educating users, employees and partners on Black history in the UK, inspiring creativity and celebrating Black people and Black culture. At TikTok, we spend a lot of time thinking about how we can help people tell stories in very fun and creative ways. We want to spark joy and we want to spark creativity and we want to spark positivity. The focus on positive stories is what the platform trades on. The hashtag My Roots campaign has been central to our Black History Month campaign. You would have seen that on platform. You may have seen it in outdoor across 122 sites. We've got murals in pubs and in other social environments. So really, really important and a really, really impressive campaign that we put together in order to do that. The My Roots campaign is a place to collect the stories of creators and artists as they celebrate both their African and Afro-Caribbean roots. Open up the app, look for hashtag My Roots. It's about pride and community, and it's about sharing positive energy with the entire TikTok community. There's no knife crime, there's no police violence, there's no negativity that comes with that territory. What we want to focus on is the family and the heritage and the culture. And with over 100 million views in 2 weeks, the hashtag My Roots campaign, we think, is having cut through. Here are just a few examples of the stories that the creators have been telling. And actually, this first video is Black females that work at TikTok that are talking about the challenge and issue and the narrative around Black hair.
Yeah, let go. Daddy, check. What? Yeah, comment tu t'appelles? Chez you the fier, et lolo magie. Daddy go spend, yeah, the swag on a red. Au school la paix, my low attempted, yo. Say, what's my name? But daddy, big tunes, got the club banging. Less man, more baddies. What's that? It's a drop top caddy. What's my name? But daddy, big tunes, got the club banging. Less man, more baddies. What's that? It's a drop top caddy. Hey, bub daddy, 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 bub daddy. Yeah, shit you like Okocha. I get skills you go like on cover. Biggie man, we be live so.
I absolutely love that. I've watched that like tens and tens of times. I just love that video, just the positive, given the narrative that is usually associated with Black hair. There's a couple of other creators, so people that don't work for TikTok, but we have also created some really great content. I'm going to play some here. Cool. The first one is Charisse.
Once upon a time, there was a young girl who thought she was ugly. It was me. In her mind, her curls weren't beautiful, so she hid them. For 12 years, aged 9 to 21, that was me. Okay, I didn't always look that cute, but the point is, I always straightened my hair. Until one day, she was like, no, enough. Why should I be embarrassed about my hair? This is my hair. So, she wore it curly. And she fell in love.
Next one.
No face, no case. That I hit the first night, first date. Put that thing all on my face. Do what I say.
The final one.
I'm Aaron Wallace, and we are celebrating Black History Month by sharing with you the ingredient that is black seed oil, an ingredient used by our ancestors thousands of years ago for our hair, our skin, and our nails, and was even found in the tomb of Tutankhamun.
Once upon a time, there was a young girl who...
Guys, so hashtag my roots. As you can see, this is an authentic celebration of being black in Britain and across Europe. It's creative, it's engaging, and it's positive. Creators and artists have the ability to bring a little joy to our everyday lives. This isn't about ignoring the big challenges facing our community. They're still really important to talk about, and they're still showcased on our platform every single day, and they still enable people to be active and have activism about it. However, but what it is also doing is rebalancing the books towards the more positive, fun, and life-affirming aspects of our lives. Now, don't pretend for one second that this TikTok campaign is a silver bullet for societal problems that I've outlined today. But when it comes to changing the types of stories people engage with, it's certainly a step in the right direction. And we want you to be part of that too, right? We want you to share with us what makes you tick, what has made you the person you are today. We will want you to go onto TikTok and use the hashtag MyRoots celebration and hashtag in order to celebrate and tell us your origin stories. And I, for one, can't wait to see them. So, in conclusion, I hope that in a small way, you all feel energized to look for the positivity in everyday stories and create them yourselves. And will join me in celebrating the message of hashtag MyRoots and create those for yourselves as too. I'd like to say thank you to the Colour in Tech team and congratulate them for putting on this event. This celebration of Black innovators is a prime example of how technology can connect people around purpose. And I'm grateful for the chance to address the next generation of technologists in our community. This itself is a very, very positive story to tell. And I want to thank you very much for your time, and I will go to the questions now. Questions are in. Let's just end show. Need the chat. Questions. What's the biggest challenge I've faced in my career and how have I overcome it? So I'll stop sharing the screen now, and then you can see me. The biggest challenge I've faced in my career and how I've overcome it. My journey's been different in that I've not had challenges because of my race. In fact, I think I've been given opportunities because of it. I think I've been presented because I've been different. And when I say different, usually the only Black person in the room, certainly the most senior Black person, the visibility, that the opportunities have been presented to me in I think, which means that the challenge there is that you feel like you're carrying the weight of your race. You're carrying that whatever you do, or however you perform, or however you succeed, is going to not only be judged on you, but is going to be judged on people who are like you. So I'm not saying people have just given me opportunities because I'm Black, but I think there are times when I've been doing it, and if I hadn't delivered, then it would have had a more negative impact on just beyond me. So how do I overcome that? It's just when those opportunities come, absolutely smash them out of the park. You have to nail them, you have to deliver them. I think within the current environment where diversity is top of the agenda and people are looking around to promote and to showcase others, having the opportunity is great, but we can't forget that we need to smash it and blow it out of the park. We still need to be ridiculously good, if not better, because I think that the opportunities are coming, and where we fail, it has a negative impact on beyond just us. It has an impact on the stuff that people perceive our race. And I think that's a really big burden for each of us and all of us to carry. How's my race affected my experience in the marketing industry at all? Again, I think it has positively, but I have no, as I said before, I have no, I don't devalue the fact that if I'd got it wrong, it would have been extremely negative. I still get perceptions of, I'm quite blunt and open and transparent. So I still get perceptions of intimidation because you're a Black guy, you have to work through. I haven't been one for code switching really, but sometimes you do have to code switch a little bit. And code switching means that you assimilate to the dominant culture or the dominant ethnicity. So, but the more and more I become comfortable and the more and more senior I have, I've just part that. So when I do come in on a Monday morning talking about grime and drill and using lyrics to tell my story, it's least surprising to people now, just because I haven't code switched for a long while. Best thing about working at TikTok. Best thing about working at TikTok is just the understanding that we are still a startup. I mean, the platform is one thing, but the business is not, right? The platform is hundreds of millions of users and culture and society and really well used and is on the news all the time. But the business is still small, and we have to grow that. And I'm at the forefront of, along with a really great team, of doing that. So being able to work in a startup of this size with the pace of what we're doing is just incredible, and I'm learning. I always say that the thing that motivates me isn't success; it's learning new things. And as long as I'm learning and creating, then all of that is really interesting to me. Will this My Roots campaign become a driver for an ongoing initiative to ensure we see this as the norm? So we have created My Roots to be something which lives and breathes beyond Black History Month. We don't want this just to be a Black History Month thing. We are very, very adamant, and the team have been really great to ensure that when we created Black History Month and our efforts here, that the efforts had lived on and had a legacy. And there are things that we have chosen to do that we are not going to do during Black History Month. We're going to do them later on, because we don't want it just to be about Black History Month. So My Roots should be about telling the Black story, the everyday story, the things that are successful on an everyday basis on our platform, which is a platform that we can do that on. What do I think TikTok's role is at the forefront of youth political expression? Are there opportunities to challenge or consider strategically? What was really interesting in terms of the Black Lives Matter protests and subsequent political protests after that is that the TikTok is being used for activism. So not only are they showcasing and inspiring people to be active, but when it came to protests in the US, things like understanding what happens if you are tear gassed, or understanding the laws around the peaceful protest and what happens when you are stopped by police and all those sorts of things. All of that advice was being for peaceful protest was being done on TikTok, and we're seeing a continuation of activism and discussion, particularly from youth, on our platform. So we're creativity, we're joy, but we're also authenticity and humanity. And it's really great to see the evolution of our platform over the past, particularly the past 6 months, if not the past 9 months, in being able to really drive engagement and drive activism from a youth perspective. How are some of the brands you work with responded to conversations around including Black creators in their campaigns? So part of my team is the Creator Solutions team. The Creator Solutions team marry brands and creators together. And a number of things that we do is ensure that, one, as part of our creator pool, that we have as diverse pool as possible to pull from. And that's across all dimensions of diversity. And the second thing is, when we do get campaigns in, we want to make sure we are pushing brands to make sure they are adopting diverse people in their creatives, and making sure that they are showcasing different people and telling different stories and not stereotyping. The brands on the whole are starting to appreciate this and accept this. And actually having consultancy on casting has been very appreciative of it, but we need to continue to do more and continue to push it, and we continue to make that a standard thing that happens across the entire industry, not just through our team, through the Creator Solutions team, and through TikTok. We need to make sure casting represents the society of which we see ourselves. how are other initiatives within TikTok to ensure diversity? Is it an ongoing concern, sustainable effort? So particularly the last 6 months, we are a new organization in terms of growing very, very quickly. Within the last 6 months, I would say, and particularly in the last 3 months, there has been an acceleration of the efforts to ensure that we create not only spaces for people to have a community to get together, but those spaces are actually have purpose, right? So we look at recruiting and making sure our recruiting practices ensure we are fishing in different ponds for people that come into our organization. And that could be across multiple diversity. It could be about multiple backgrounds in education or non-education or those sorts of things. Making sure our referral process is making sure we're referring people from very different backgrounds. We don't have ERGs just yet, but we're setting up to do those. So LGBTQ in terms of pride and Black and women, we are making sure that all of those things are established very, very quickly, because we know that one, we need a community and a space for us to be us to continue to be ourselves and help us be ourselves in the business. Two, understand that there are support and training that may be different according to what diversity you are. Three, ensure that it's built into how the business does business. So we are at the table when those big decisions are being made. And that the senior levels are as representative as they can be all the way through to the junior levels, to ensure that TikTok, the business, looks like TikTok, the platform. And we really need to do that. So there are continued diversity efforts to make sure we are doing that. And it's not a one and done, right? We have to continue to invest time, effort, money and resource. Money and resource is the key thing there. If you've got diversity efforts and your company aren't funding it, then those diversity efforts don't really mean anything, because you need funding. You need to have things to sponsor like this, initiatives that you externally, training, resource, all those sorts of things. So that is it there. What's the most challenging part of working at TikTok? The pace. I mean, we are growing very quickly. We have a lot to do. The intensity of the platform, everything's going on, but it's just amazing. That's the most challenging thing. It's like I'm saying, it's like a marathon. When you're training for a marathon, it's really hard, but once you get to the marathon, hopefully you've trained and you can do it. We're marathon training at the moment, and hopefully next year we'll still be running really, really quick, but we will be trained to have done that. So that's one of the most challenging things, but it's also the best thing about working at TikTok. Top tips for growing your career in marketing. I think I said at the very beginning is I don't see career as linear. When I talk about career, I talk about jungle gyms. So I pursue learning as opposed to pursue career. I pursue new education and new experiences as opposed to wanting to go up a ladder. And particularly in marketing, which is such a huge breadth of experience and opportunities and jobs and all of those things. If you want to be a real rounded marketer, you sort of need to experience all of those things across multiple capabilities, multiple functions. So in order to grow your career in marketing, I would say always look for the opportunity, and even if it feels uncomfortable, then go for it. But I wouldn't look linear, because if you look linear, you're really constricting yourself. Always chase the opportunity and chase the education and chase new experience. And once you've been in the business 10 or 15 years, then it's great. Last question, I think. Interesting point about the weight of responsibility about being a trained blazer. Has this made you more cautious or restricted in your instinctual response? No. I'm a confident person, and I see my difference as strength, and I see it as opportunity, and I see it as a way to say things that you would probably be hesitant to say, and take a viewpoint in a very constructive way, and people will listen. So definitely not held back. This is not the time to hold back. People are looking at people like us. We have to be trailblazers. We have to be loud and proud and vocal. And I would say that there is strength in being different, and we should not be holding back. We should be absolutely who we are and nailing that. So I want to thank you for your time. Please let us know if you've got any other questions, and hopefully speak to you again soon.